Prescription drug prices saw the largest monthly decline on record. Prices for airfare, used vehicles, and car insurance all decreased as well.
The drama unfolding in the world of daytime TV is hotter than a viral TikTok trend, and it's only getting juicier. What started as a few laughs at Karoline Leavitt's expense has turned into a full-blown scandal that has everyone on edge, especially the hosts of The View. You already know the scene: Joy, Whoopi, and the rest of the gang laughing it up, mocking Karoline's $800 million lawsuit like it's just another conservative trying to play the victim. At first, they thought it was a joke. They rolled their eyes, they shrugged it off, and they even belittled her. But oh, how quickly the tables turned.
We have an individual in our new media seat today. His name is Tim Pool. He's a political commentator and a media entrepreneur with millions of followers, a very big platform.
Sources close to The View are now revealing that the once cocky co-hosts are starting to panic. The legal storm Karoline unleashed? It's no joke. In fact, it's shaking the very foundation of the network they've called home for years. Behind the scenes, while the women of The View keep up their public front, there's chaos brewing in the boardrooms and dressing rooms. The question is, what happens when a lawsuit with $800 million on the line begins to target everything these women stand for? It all kicked off with what we all know too well: a View segment. The usual setup: a circle of co-hosts, a controversial guest, and a political jab disguised as a conversation. This time, however, the target was Karoline Leavitt, a bold conservative with an unapologetic voice who was gaining traction in the political world.
Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country.
Joy Behar, being the first to throw the verbal punch, mocked Karoline's political rise, dismissing it as merely a result of her looks. You'd think it was an off-the-cuff comment, but Joy didn't stop there. Whoopi Goldberg jumped in next, snickering as she called Karoline's success nothing more than a product of wokeness. And, of course, Sunny Hostin, who usually plays the voice of reason, jumped into the pile, labelling Karoline's rise a prime example of white privilege. Classic View right. Everyone laughs, the audience claps, and the day goes on like nothing happened. Except this time, Karoline didn't just let it slide. She didn't fire back on Twitter with a sassy rant or take to Instagram to clap back. Nah. She took it up a notch. Instead of getting into the social media muck with The View's hosts, Karoline did something that had the entire media world spinning. She took legal action. Big time. She dropped an $800 million defamation lawsuit that had the world talking. That's right, folks, $800 million. And this wasn't just some frivolous, attention-seeking move. This lawsuit was well calculated, airtight, and deadly serious.
This is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. I believe I'm getting that correct. And this act is a common-sense measure.
Karoline's legal team meticulously combed through every View clip, every offhand comment, every mocking remark, and every slip of the tongue from the co-hosts. They gathered receipts that were about to rattle ABC to its core. What started as a dismissed lawsuit soon turned into a full-scale battle for accountability. Major media outlets like CNN and MSNBC might have called it a non-story, but trust. Karoline's team was gathering heat that would soon make the biggest names in daytime television sweat. Behind closed doors, ABC's legal team was scrambling. They realized this wasn't just a publicity stunt, it had teeth, and if it went to court, it could change everything for the network. Karoline's lawsuit wasn't just going to damage her targets, it had the potential to wreck ABC's image entirely.
You have Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassett, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team.
As the legal threats loomed larger, the tone of The View shifted dramatically. Whoopi Goldberg, once the unshakable leader of the show, began to grow suspiciously quiet. Joy, who had once mocked Karoline's lawsuit as nothing more than a desperate cry for attention, started to backtrack. She suddenly suggested that they could have a conversation to resolve things, something that sounded a lot more like damage control than a genuine olive branch. And Sunny, the supposed voice of reason, She had a realization that shook her to her core. This wasn't just about politics. It was about protecting their reputations and saving the show from a massive public relations disaster. She began pulling producers aside and warning them about the gravity of the situation. The woman who had once been so certain the lawsuit was baseless was now fully aware that the stakes had escalated from legal drama to personal survival.
The president's drill baby drill energy agenda, which he will discuss later this evening in the East Room, is capitalizing on the abundance of natural resources.
Meanwhile, behind the cameras, ABC executives were split. One camp wanted to take this to court and fight back, to prove that The View hadn't done anything wrong. The other, more cautious faction feared that a trial could lead to the public release of sensitive documents, internal emails, production notes, and conversations that could tarnish the network's image forever. And then the unthinkable happened. Word leaked that ABC was seriously considering settling the lawsuit to avoid a trial. That's when all hell broke loose. Whoopi Goldberg, the queen of the panel, was furious. She had spent weeks mocking the lawsuit, brushing it off as nothing more than a political stunt. Now, the network she helped build was considering paying off Karoline. It felt like a betrayal to Whoopi. This wasn't just about a lawsuit anymore. It was about her legacy, about her years of hard work, and her role in shaping daytime television. She wasn't about to let this slide without a fight.
The important legislation passed the committee with bipartisan support, and as you may remember, the president talked about this bill in his address to a joint session of Congress last month.
Joy Behar wasn't happy either. She stormed into the dressing room, throwing her makeup bag onto the vanity in frustration. "The View built this network," she yelled. "We made millions, and now they want to throw us under the bus for this." Sunny, the legal expert, was more measured in her response, but she was just as concerned. She understood how ugly things could get if this lawsuit went to trial. As a former prosecutor, she knew that every off-air conversation, every editing decision, and every questionable moment on the show would be exposed. The stakes were about to go through the roof. With the legal battle heating up and the media frenzy growing, The View attempted damage control. On live TV, the hosts tried to flip the script. Whoopi, who had once mocked Karoline's lawsuit, started with a softer tone, urging a step back from the hostility. Joy, who had dismissed the lawsuit as a joke, now suggested they should have a conversation to resolve things. And Sunny, who had brushed off the case, was now pleading for a resolution without a trial.
Because the previous administration illegally paroled millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people, into the country.
It was one of the most dramatic and unexpected shifts in television history. The same hosts who had laughed at Karoline's lawsuit for weeks were now begging her to let it go. But viewers weren't buying it. The sudden tone change wasn't about genuine remorse. It was about survival. It was about saving their careers and protecting their public image from a PR disaster that could ruin everything they had worked for. And while the View hosts scrambled to salvage their image, Karoline Leavitt stood firm. She didn't back down. The very same women who had laughed her off were now being exposed for their arrogance, hypocrisy, and desperation. The power dynamic had shifted. The once untouchable hosts of The View were now on the defensive, fighting to salvage what was left of their reputation. The question everyone was asking, was this the end of The View as we know it? The fallout from this lawsuit is only just beginning. If Karoline Leavitt wins this case, Whoopi Goldberg and the rest of the hosts could be forced to pay millions in damages and possibly issue a public apology. But the most shocking twist, Karoline could take down one of the most iconic talk shows in TV history. So, what do you think? Will Karoline Leavitt really bring down The View? Or will ABC manage to pull off the ultimate save? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what you think about this incredible legal drama. Don't forget to hit that like button to support bold reporting and subscribe for more exclusive updates. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The story isn't over yet, and it's only going to get crazier from here. Stay tuned.